Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. Where are you from? This is Sus. I have today with me Brando, nominee for the NDC election, and our host Billy. I will be co-hosting this show. This is, I think, our third um, episode of the Boneyard NDC campaign. So we'll be talking about Brando running for the House of Advisor. We will be talking about some of the NDC upcoming election, and we will be covering as well gaming. So, Brando, go ahead, introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks for the intro, Seuss. I'm Brandon. I've been on the near ecosystem building hard for about 2 years, and I've been involved in multiple different projects, including Nico, Jump DeFi, and I'm also co-host of Near at Night, where we talk to a bunch of different projects within the Near ecosystem. And yeah, it's been a long road for the development of the NDC since last year at NearCon. Now we're finally gearing up for the elections and V1 of the NDC. I believe the first Congress starts October 1st. And just a really quick overview, there's three houses. There's the House of Merit, there's the Council of Advisors, and the Transparency Commission. I am running for the Council of Advisors, and yeah, I think that was my brief little intro.
And yo, what's up, everybody? This is Billy Bones. This is our, I think, fourth episode of the podcast for Boneyard, but our second for the NDC. And we got Seuss and Brando here. We're talking about the NDC and everything that's going on. I hope we can bring it to a gaming sense and talk about some games rather than just NDC. But this is what we got funding for, so we're talking about NDC today. Good morning. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're at. Brandon, welcome in. I wanted to ask you a few questions about like why you're running and what gave you that motivation to do so, because I'm on the fence. I can run, but I kind of don't want to. I do, but then I don't. So I'm curious to hear about what your reasoning is to go and nominate yourself.
Yeah, so I guess the first, there's a lot of people that think exactly like you do. They're really integral parts of the near ecosystem. I mean, you've been with it for as long as I have. You've been doing many great things. With Boneyard, you're involved in many different communities, and I think a lot of people like you are. They see a lot of issues wrong with the near ecosystem. There's a lot going right, but there's things that they'd like to change. But now that we've actually have the vertical to do that with the NDC, there's a lot of people who aren't really sure that they can impact near protocol by participating, or that maybe they won't be heard. And that's a valid response. I mean, we've seen different things lately where builders are getting a little bit down about the state of the ecosystem, maybe like feeling that near hasn't really been representing them very well. And I definitely agree with that. And I know that many people have talked about how the NDC is going to change that, but it is very valid to kind of feel that maybe it might be difficult to actually have your voice heard in the NDC. And I think that decentralized governance is a very great way to actually provide representation for most of the grassroots near community, people like yourselves, bigger projects. But there's definitely going to be some bumps, especially with V1. And I feel like the reason that I wanted to run and I announced my candidacy is because I've been a part of the near ecosystem for 2 years, like most of you. And I think I have a great perspective on what it takes to build and found a project. I have insight on what builders and project teams need to survive. I've been there from the beginning. We've actually, all of our projects, we've bootstrapped ourselves with very minimal assistance from the Near Foundation. And, there was a time in the beginning when there was lots of funding going around, but it didn't quite work out as intended. A lot of projects that were funded aren't here today. There were different legal issues with the funding that are now being solved with the NDC governance. It allows the funding to be more decentralized, allows for less legal liability on the part of the Near Foundation. And again, going back to why I wanted to run, I just think that while people may be a little bit reluctant or what's the word, may not feel that the NDC is going to solve all of the problems. I think the best way to actually ensure that the NDC does represent people and works correctly is by getting involved. I mean, that's how us as builders, us as community members, can actually have a chance to influence the future of NEAR, to make sure that the funds are being allocated where they need to be with tact, and so that we don't repeat a lot of the mistakes that we've seen with early funding on NEAR and other ecosystems. So that was my big spiel. I'm kind of lost where I am, but yeah.
No, that's great. I mean, a lot of us are in the space and we've been for a long time, and things need to change. It didn't go well in the beginning. I think when everyone starts growing and you grow a little too quickly, I think that's kind of what happened, and management kind of got shifted out, and you kind of have to start over. And when it's a bull run and a lot of things are running and there's a lot of many moving parts, it's kind of hard to slow things down and stop, like, hey, we need to change this. But it's, by that time you realize it's already too late. So with what's going on with governance and decentralization, it's a new direction in which the NEAR ecosystem needs to go in, and that's where we're experimenting with. And it's a little crazy how quickly it just kind of crept up on us, because they're saying, oh, it's been a year, and they're like, oh shit, it has been a year, where we're looking at governance and all this stuff. So I wanted to talk about why you chose the Council of Advisors. Why didn't you go for Transparency Commission or the other house? Why didn't you? What was your thought process there?
Yeah. So, sorry, blanked a little bit, but yeah. So I'm involved with multiple different projects, and I've also submitted I've submitted multiple different proposals through the Marketing DAO, which is one of the bigger forms of funding, one of the better funding verticals for the NEAR community. You're able to propose different initiatives, have the council of the Marketing DAO Council go through your proposals and, provide their input, and then eventually fund you. I've been doing this for multiple projects, helping other projects with proposals, and I have a very good insight of how funding from the grassroots perspective works. And I think that there are a lot of ways that a lot of things I've seen that maybe, are good, but also different funding initiatives that I don't necessarily think are a proper use of treasury funds. And this is something that I imagine will become an issue with the NDC. There's a lot of initiatives that are going to be put forth. And as we've seen with early forms of funding in not just NEAR, but other blockchains, a lot of people are just looking to fund themselves or get money as quickly as they can. There's bad actors in every ecosystem. And I think it's our responsibility as community members to try and mitigate a lot of that. It's impossible to prevent all of it, but I think I wanted to run for Council of Advisors because that is the house. It's actually basically the antithesis of the House of Merit. The House of Merit is in charge of the budgets, budget planning, and proposing and approving different initiatives for funding. The Council of Advisors lies opposite of that as a sort of check, which has the power to veto different proposals proposed by the community and the House of Merit, and also provides counsel and advises the different members about these proposals and the benefits and negatives of each one. So the reason I wanted to run for Council of Advisors is because I wanted to try and provide some of the knowledge that I've gained over the past 2 years of being on NEAR and my other experiences within the crypto, Web3 world as a whole, to try and guide the use of the NEAR community treasury as much as possible. I wanted to, I've seen lots of other members, important influential members of the NEAR community speak out and not necessarily be taken seriously or heard when they bring up something that they see is wrong with the ecosystem. And I think as a council of advisor member, I want to bring that to the table. I want to, not be afraid to share my opinion, but also try to convince others in a very reasonable, pragmatic way about why I think this, on my perspective on why I believe that maybe this isn't the best way to go, or maybe there is an alternative way. There's lots and a ton of lessons to be learned with Web3. I mean, it's constantly evolving, and as a protocol, as a blockchain ecosystem, I think it's wise to pay attention to these lessons and to make sure we don't repeat the same mistakes. So I want to provide my insight on the council of advisors in order to accomplish that.
Yeah, and I thank you on that because you helped me out when I was doing my proposals and stuff like that. So, I mean, I think it was 10 times easier to reach out to someone you already know who's already done it before and, can give you the insight or, like, hey, you just need to go do this and that. Because when you're sitting there reading up on how to do what they want with their guides and all that stuff, it could be a little intimidating. You're not sure if you're going to do it correctly. And it's good to have someone, kind of guide you on the way rather than just, going and shooting in the dark, so thanks for that. I think it's important for I think the marketing DAO to help and counsel people, but sometimes they're busy and there's only a few of them, and there's so many people, so many applicants. I don't know how they do it. It must be rough for them. I understand it, and so if we have this council to help them out, I think it'd be a huge step in the right direction. They can get someone. I was speaking with Illuminifty last time, and they can get a team of people, a group of people from the council to help out like bigger projects, and then a group of people to help out the grassroots projects and stuff like that. So, I mean, how many of there's 15 of them, right? 15 seats. So I think that's plenty of people because right now in the marketing DAO, I think there's 4. And they just recently got a couple of advisors. So it's super important to help out who's trying to build, because if we have near here and we want to encourage and entice builders to come and build, how are we going to help them if no one's helping them? And then I hear complaints from other projects saying, I didn't know Near was rolling this out. How come they didn't tell me? Like, I'm building on their chain and da-da-da-da-da. So it seems a step in the right direction. Hopefully it works, with experimentation with governance. And I think it's important. Seuss, did you have any questions before we go forward? It's only been 20
Actually,
minutes.
a reminder that for you to be able to participate in the election and vote, there is actually a timeline you have to catch up to, which is, I believe, 1 day and 7 hours left for you to mint your SBT token. You need the proof of I am a human, so you will be able to participate in the voting. The deadline for the candidacy submission will be on, I believe, on 8, right? Or 7, and then the voting begins on 8, right? And
Right.
then the voting will end. I have all the information here on September 22. But just a quick, I will share a screen and show just for the people who never, verify as I am a human, how they can do that. So basically, you have to go to this site, which is iamahuman.app, and then you will see right here the voting registration actually end in 1 day and 7 hours. So you have to mint this token for you to be able to vote. Okay. So it's just simple process. Right now, I'm connected to my wallet. You just connect your wallet and then you do a face scan and then you mint this token. Once you have this token, then you will be able to go and vote in the election. I believe you have 27 or 28 votes for everyone. That's mean you can vote for all the people, but that doesn't mean you have to vote for all the people. You have to choose the right people who you want to vote for, and that's something very, very important. Speaking of an experience with Brando or Brandon, actually, and Delir as well. Both of them helped to shape my career, in the near ecosystem. They took me in, and the brand always helped us with the Nico Morning Show as well in the Boneyard Gaming. So I give my full support to Brando. To be honest, I think we really need someone like Brando in there, and yeah, that's it for me. So you
Thank you.
have to mint your SPT token. This is very important, guys. You have 1 day and 7 hours. Again, I repeat, all the information you need on the deadline is right here. It's showing down below. You can check all the deadline later on.
And what do we have for that QR code that's up there?
Yeah, okay. So this QR code on the top left up there, right? That will take you straight to Brando Twitter. And then we will be generating, yeah, we will be generating another QR code. Even if you are watching this later on, you will still scan it and go there. That's just going to be easy for you. So this will be the Brando nomination QR code right here. And let's go to Brando nomination real quick while at it. Right, let's show a
Sure.
Brando profile.
And at the
Um,
same time, I want to remind people that this is not for voting for him just yet. It's just an upvote to show
mhm.
your support. A lot of people are saying, "Go vote for me, go vote for me," and yes, it is an
Yeah.
upvote, but you're not voting just yet.
Yes.
Very
Yes. The
confusing.
voting did not start yet. Okay. So if you go to near.social/nomination, you have the QR code up top left. It's gonna take you right straight here, and you can support Brando right now. This is not the voting. This is just a support by upvoting to him. Brando right now have 24, which I think he really need to have more than this. This is very underrated,
Oh, thanks.
but but yeah, if you don't know much about Brando, you can go through his what do you call this? Brando
It's my platform, my nomination platform. It's just every candidate has there's a bunch of general questions which I think are
Mhm.
a bit too general, but they basically go through and allow the candidates to show their platform, what they're running, what they think is most important within the Near ecosystem, and hopefully what they're going to be doing if they are elected. And yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So you can guys read about this actually right here. You can scroll down and read all of the information you want. If you like Brando, you can just upvote him and you can give a comment right down here for him. This is again not the voting process. Okay, this is only to show your support for the candidate, which I may be a bit biased because I work with Brando.
You
Okay,
are.
but we actually need someone like him in there, and we really need more people in there. And I actually saw in the past week, I think we had a lot of OGs trying to step up, and they are nominating themselves. What do you think you bring to the table? I mean, already talk, about your experience and stuff like this, but what do you think makes you different from other candidates? Speak freely.
Yeah, so I mean, I mentioned it slightly already, but I think that I have a experience even before Web3 with managing startups, managing big teams, and ensuring operations of my company. I used to work as a laboratory manager for a startup laboratory, and it's given me a lot of management experience and things like that. But I also, as I said, I have a lot of perspective as a builder, as someone who's created and
Yeah.
co-founded their own projects and has been still building, grinding currently, even through all types of adverse marketing conditions, not marketing, adverse market conditions. Everyone, I've been through multiple black swan events within crypto. It's very volatile, but I'm still here, and I think I know what other projects need in order to succeed, in order to create something sustainable. I've learned many lessons throughout my Web3 career. And I feel that one of the main things about, what everyone is pushing on Near is builders. They want people to build, they want people to come and create stuff so that users have things to do, have innovations to explore, things like that. It's like a chicken and the egg. How can you get more users? You need builders to get users. Without users, why would people want to build? And I think that there's a lot more that we can do to ensure that founders have consistent support. Billy mentioned earlier, there was funding, and then it kind of had to stop as we went through a reorganization process,
Yeah.
which I don't think that every builder on every blockchain needs full, they need to be funded entirely for what they're building. Obviously, builders need to try and create a sustainable project, but when you're building on a blockchain, a nascent ecosystem like Near, there's lots of things that you're giving up in order to build on Near. And I think I fully support Near. I fully support the tech stack, but it's known that there's slightly less volume than other chains
Yeah.
like Ethereum and things like that. So what I think, and this doesn't just apply to funding from the Near Foundation or the different verticals, which we're, talking about today, I think they need support, consistent support. They need reliable sort of funding, whether it's, I think it should be a consistent milestone-based funding as opposed to what we did in the beginning where the Near Foundation was handing out huge grants. I think that there needs to be funding that's rewarded based on merit. I think that also on top of that, funding isn't the only way that projects can be supported. I think that the Near Foundation, the different marketing DAOs, the Near team need to keep highlighting not just the biggest high-profile projects like Sweatcoin, Few
Yeah.
and Far, things like that, but
Mhm.
also the smaller ones, the people that are still there despite everything and that are trying to build something. I mean, that's what they're trying to promote, right? Builders building. And it starts with the smallest projects. And then these projects, eventually, hopefully, they will create these innovations that will bring people over to the ecosystem. And I think we're going to sidetrack a little bit from your question, but Dolph
Yeah.
Dolph
Go ahead.
Lundgren said,
Go ahead.
so
I want to
I'll
talk about
I'll put
that.
I'll put his question in the screen right here, so it's easy to read. Yeah. What
well,
about the creative DAO? I have seen some really off-topic projects supported there.
yeah. So let me start with we talk a lot about the marketing DAO, and Billy mentioned, there's only so many people running that, and there's things that I necessarily don't agree with currently, but that they're doing. But I would have to say that they are doing a very, very, very great job for the amount of people that they have and the amount of proposals that they got recently has been insane. The amount of requested funding, and for the most part, it's the marketing DAO and the creatives DAO, and I think maybe one other vertical which have taken the majority, basically have taken over funding, consistent funding for a lot of projects. They're basically the main verticals that you go to get funding. And that necessarily, shouldn't be so, that we need more infrastructure to support that, which
Mhm.
income the NDC, I think will help mitigate some of the work that they have to do. But anyway, yeah, what did he say? So the creative DAO is also another way of funding. It's another vertical, and they're doing things similar to the marketing DAO. However, I guess it's more focused on creating things for the ecosystem. And marketing DAO obviously is focused more on marketing, but yeah, it's just with the NDC, how that will look is that we'll be able to pass and propose initiatives that fund them on a bigger scale than before. We will be directly funding them, providing initiatives to help them do their job, perhaps increasing the infrastructure, the council members, things like that, but also creating new verticals, new DAOs that offer different ways of funding for their own categories. So, as we said right now, there's a lot of different things. There's NFT projects, creative projects like art and music. There's marketing initiatives, things like that. And there should be, in a way, their own DAOs that provide funding to each of these different groups. And as it stands, I think I already said the marketing DAO is providing funding probably for things more than just encompass marketing. And then the same with the creative DAO. And I think the purpose of the NDC is to also help create these new verticals and fund these new verticals in order to get this funding to the place it needs to go. And really quick, I want to just go through all of Dolph's questions. In the beginning, he said he's highly skeptical of the whole process and hard to take it seriously at this point.
Mm.
And I don't think that's I think that's very valid. There's it has taken a while to get. I mean, it's going to take a while to get decentralized governance running. It's difficult. It's a little bit messy. There's a lot of pros to it, but there's also cons. It takes a lot of work from a lot of different individuals who might not necessarily have the time to do this, to create the framework and the systems necessary to decentralize funding. And, it's taken a whole year just to get this off the ground. And now that it's here, it might not necessarily be functioning in the best capacity. And as, Dolph is highly skeptical of the whole process. I see that as very valid. But I think that it's up to us to get involved to try and make sure that it turns out smoothly. I think it's going to take a lot of work, as they say, but I think it's up to people to get involved with the NDC, get involved with this decentralized governance and make their points and try and point out things that they don't agree with, so that, by the time it's too late, no one will have spoken out, and then it's already, it's failed. I think for decentralized governance to work properly, we need a lot of people involved voicing their opinions and making sure that, there are no bad actors, and that, basically we just need everyone, as much people as possible, to help. And what else? Okay, so another one, Dolph says, I saw that the governance work group itself burned something like $250K per month. Seems kind of odd. Not sure exactly what the tangible value is, and really looking forward to a fresh approach. And that is something that I think can only be solved with getting involved in the NDC. If you see this stuff happening and you don't agree with it, the NDC has the power to plan these budgets and to reduce or increase the amounts. And I do agree that, people do need incentives to participate in decentralized governance, or else there's going to be so much work that's going to be done for nothing. And you can't really get all of this work done without somewhat incentivizing people to get involved. And that's why there's various budgets being allocated to the different members involved. However, like Dolph said, $250K per month, $250K per month, I think that's a lot. And I think that we need to kind of break down the different amounts that are being involved with actually just the governance aspect of things, and then compare that to how much money is actually getting through to the projects. And that's some of the reasons that I kind of want to be a part of this. I want to make sure that the projects are getting this treasury money. This is the money for the community to get grassroots projects off the ground, and that's what it needs to go to. And I think being a part of the NDC, voting on this is the only way to ensure that the treasury is being spent effectively without it just being wasted and going in the pockets of everyone trying to get a piece. And I'm not saying that incentives are needed for everything. I think that when you incentivize everything, you kind of, You kind of promote a system of just people trying to get something for themselves. They only want to take out value. They don't want to take in value. So you have to be very careful with how you incentivize people to get involved and to make sure that they're not taking advantage of the system. However, also on the other end, without certain incentives being performed in the right way, it's also a lot of work to ask people to do in order to get decentralized governance moving forward. It's a very, very tricky balance. And I mean, as you say, Dolph, only time will tell. So yeah, might have lost my track again.
I believe there's a transparency report, or not a transparency report, like a report with the budget too. So if you want to see where all that 250K is going, I believe it's on the forums. I'm not sure exactly where it's at, but if you go look on the forums and go look through the marketing DAO, I think it's on there somewhere, and they broke it down where every penny is going. So if you're unsure, because it does sound like a big amount, but you think about it, there's lawyers, there's devs, there's a bunch of people working on this right now, and they are saying that it's minimal. So if you want to check that out, please go look into that if you're curious or don't understand why. It's not a problem saying, hey, this doesn't make any sense. Everyone's there to come and help. And, if you're in the Telegram groups or in the forum, please poke around and ask. There's no, it's not a bad thing that you don't know why, or, if something doesn't make sense, just go and ask. It's kind of like why we're doing this, why we're here,
And really quick, a point. The governance work group, to the best of my knowledge, is going to be dissolved. I'm pretty sure that is the case. I could be wrong. I don't want to be wrong on live, but pretty sure the governance work group was designed to get the structure running. And I think 250K is a kind of a very huge budget. I'd have to look into that myself, but I believe it will be dissolved. And yeah, I think it was necessary. It was a lot of work. I mean, I haven't been deeply involved with the governance work group, but I was there when it was created. I saw when Blaze was there at last NearCon, organizing things, getting everything ready. I saw the constant amount of work and meetings every week with a bunch of different people focusing on, legal, constitutional, the Constitution, different things. They had a bunch of different people, talented individuals meeting weekly to get this running off the ground. And I believe, after having going through some of the documents, I believe it is a very solid structure to get the NDC started. And yeah, it was a lot of work. And from what I want to do, Dolph said, I don't want to give you a difficult time here, just a different perspective. I mean, you're not. I think you are giving me, it's a very good perspective from the outside looking in. I think that's kind of what is needed in order to make sure that this keeps going on the right track, because it is a very valid a very valid fear that perhaps most of the treasury money is just going to people's wallets and not necessarily going for the benefit of the ecosystem. And that's something that I want to try and make sure doesn't happen. I want to make sure that everyone in the ecosystem, that we are doing the best we can to make sure that Near is successful. And I want to make sure that the money is going to the projects, because in my belief, these different small projects, grassroots projects, are the things that are going to get people involved in Near. It's going to get users. Projects like Shard Dog, different things are the true value of the Near ecosystem. And all of the NDC, all of the funding, all of these verticals, in the end, that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to bring life to the different, different projects within the ecosystem so that users will join. So, yeah, I mean, it's a very valid concern, and it's something I want to try and solve. And it is good. If we don't talk about it, it will continue, and people will continue to abuse the system. And I hope that's not something that happens within V1 of the NDC. And I believe that, there are different checks and balances within the Constitution. That's why they have the 3 different houses, the Transparency Commission, the Council of Advisors, to make sure that if any of that is being seen, that there are ways to stop it. I know that the Transparency Commission, I believe they have the power to remove whole cabinets, like the whole house, if they really needed to. I know they could remove every member of the House of Merit and then get new members. I know that that's probably going to be a very difficult, and I don't even want to know what that process would look like, but I think there are technically those checks in place to ensure that if there are cartels or groups of people not using the treasury for the best interest of the ecosystem, that can be stopped. So, yeah. And again, keep asking your questions, Dolphy. I don't think you're giving me a difficult time. I think you're just bringing up real issues that could happen. And I think that it's the responsibility of, maybe people aren't actually don't actually know that that's what they should be doing when they run for these different houses, is, ensuring that the benefit goes not to them, but to the ecosystem. And while there are incentives, I think they are somewhat necessary for the amount of work that needs to be done to ensure that this money is appropriated or appropriately distributed. A cynic might suspect that the people who develop those rules are the same insiders abusing the system. Yeah, I mean, that could be true. However, once the governance work group is dissolved, once V1 of governance is live, the power of putting these people in place goes to the I Am Human verified wallets. It goes to the Near community. And they're taking lots of measures to ensure that these different wallets as verification isn't botted. I know there's possibility for issues like that to happen, but at the end of the day, the power goes to the people voting in order to ensure that they're represented by people who do have the best interests of the community in mind. So I guess only time will tell, and I think I need to maintain a positive outlook on things and try my best to approach that, because the only ones who will be able to, you know, ensure that things are going smoothly are the people who are voting and involved in the NDC. So,
Well, stuff for that, I think like the Transparency Commission will come into that play, and with the whistleblower program, it sounds pretty good. I think Illuminifty was saying a minimum of 250 near to 2.5K. That minimal number may be wrong, but it's, if someone pays you, 50 near or 30 near, like Illuminifty was saying, to get you to scan your face and get an SBT in order to get some votes, it's going to be very expensive. And if someone knows about that, you can be making up to 2.5K near to blow the whistle. So, and then they got the whole entire Transparency Commission to be working on that as well, to make sure everyone's in their place, and people who are asking for funding, they'll be keeping them all in place as well. So there's a lot of stuff going on. And I think with what's happened in the past, I think the way the work groups are working, there's a ton of them, and then it's for their field. So if there's a gaming, there's the creatives, there's the marketing, there's a ton of them. And if you go look at them, and they're welcoming more. Like if I wanted to create one right now, I can go create one right now. You can start up a charter, and there's an NFT one. There's a bunch of them. And if everyone's just thrown in the same pile, like we're talking about, so many people, I think it was 100,000 or 200,000 being requested for the marketing down in 1 month. And it's not necessarily all for marketing. It's just like, hey, I need funding for this and this and that, blah, 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 blah. So if we have all these individual work groups working together, to come together to, pay attention to their vertical, it makes sense. And it might be a rocky start. I would guess, I don't think everything's going to be 100% smooth as butter, but you got to hope for the best. And I think everyone who's starting off, good luck, Brandon. With the version 1, it's going to do the most work. So people come in version 2, 3, or the next 6 year, if it's still going, I hope it does, and I hope it works. They're going to have it a little bit easier. So I was saying to Illuminifty when we went offline, I was like, I hope if this does go well and everything goes good and they get this version 1 going, that whoever are the first, 27, 29, something like that,
29.
seats, or 29 are going to get filled up, are going to get a bonus, because the amount that they give in, I'm American, you're American. And if you're going to give 2.5K to us for a month, that's like minimum wage over here. So if you were working our asses off, and they say, oh, it's like a part-time and stuff, but if you're putting in a nominal, a good amount of time into this, and it's rough and it works, I believe that you guys should put a proposal somewhere to somebody saying, hey, hook it up, give us a bonus for making this happen. So, a lot of stuff going on to set up governance and decentralized. I can't even fathom. I mean, maybe another reason why I'm not running is it's like I don't understand it fully, and to grasp it, and to help out. Maybe I should, and I don't know. I don't think I'll bust a 360, but I want to help, but at the same time, I don't know how I can help. But
You still have time for nominating.
I don't know. You never know. What happened, Zeus?
You still have time to nominate yourself.
I could.
Yeah,
And,
there is
I'm thinking
some time.
about it. I don't know yet.
Well, I really think you should. I already said that before.
I
I
think I
really
should
think
too.
you should. Yeah.
I think I should,
And
but I'm not
for,
sure if I will.
yeah,
I'd
and
vote for
for
you.
Brando as well. One thing Brando bring there is actually his perspective as a builder, right? Brando did build Nico as well. He built help and built the Jump DeFi. So he is a builder, and he had experience with his own projects, and not only one but two as well. So Brando being
Technically
there
3.
brings. Oh yeah, we have a classic kangaroo as well.
Your
right?
PFP is a kangaroo, bro. Come on.
Yeah. So technically three with an NFT. So they have a DeFi NFT as well, meme slash content team as well as a Nico. So you really understands what builders goes through in the near ecosystem, right? You know because you already experienced that. So having you in there does gonna help, and as well people builders like you, let's say Delir for example, and other people's there other names as well, I may not mention, but these people, you guys can bring so much value in there just because you share your perspective with the builders in there, other builders in there, because I heard a lot people like talking that builders need a bit more luck. Do you agree this?
Yeah, yeah. So there was a space, or there was a podcast I heard. It was a wild user podcast with Ready Layer One. So it was that one with Joe, Jared, and AVB, and they were talking about governance in the NDC. And one of the things they said is that there's a lot of candidates that they're seeing up there. But what you might want to see in terms of people on the board on the different houses is people who have experience with building. I mean, it's what I basically running my whole platform is based on. But there's a lot of people who might not actually have the perspective of you know have a good perspective on what sort of things need funded in order to help out the builders. I mean, we've talked a lot about how Near is a big proponent in the Near Foundation. The team, everyone is like, yeah, builders, bring builders, users and builders. That's what we need. But like, it's people like Joe. I mean, he's also running for the Council of Advisors. Joe from Ready Layer One. I'm definitely going to vote for him because he basically made a very great point. He's been voicing his opinion on the state of the Near ecosystem and its support towards builders. And those are the type of people that I want to see, among others, creating the different initiatives, backing them, and shaping the NDC because they definitely have a very good idea of what it takes. And I'm not saying that the whole the whole governance system needs to be uh, filled with builders, but I think that there's people I've seen that maybe I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to say that they have a very good perspective of
Yeah.
what the teams, what the projects need in order to build stuff, build things, build innovations, and that these innovations that are going to bring people on board. And I really value the opinion of people like this, people who have, been building since the beginning, who haven't stopped, who haven't maybe turned away, went to other chains when things were hard, when things were their toughest, and maybe haven't just appeared out of the woodwork now that there's a system that promises some money, for being involved with governance. I want to see people who have stuck with it the whole time because I really do value their opinion. And I think that those people, on top of what they know, the lessons they learned, the experience they've gained, they also have, you know, they're staking a big part of their lives on Near, on the project they're building on Near. So they have,
Yeah.
personal reasons and drive incentive to see it function, to see it thrive and succeed. So on top of just the monetary function, there's a lot more to it. So I really think that people like that are going to be invaluable on the NDC
Yeah. I
and
agree. I
myself too.
agree. Yep. Yep. Speaking of this, I will show as well where you guys can check all the candidates. Okay, I did show you where you can check Brando, but let me show you as well where you can see all the candidates who's running. Okay, so you have, as we said, the three houses, the House of Merit, and that's 15 seat. They will be in the House of Merit, and then Council of Advisor will be 7, and the Transparency Commission will be 7 as well. Excuse me for my bad slow internet connection. Anyway, keep going. When you click on one of the houses right here, you will be able to, look at all the candidates and the people who nominated themselves, and you can read, and one of the people I really looking at, this is my advice, I'm not telling you, or it's actually not an advice, but this is my opinion, which will be Odin in the House of Merit as well as Delir. And you can just click on any person profile, and then you can see here the questions and answer. This is the standard questions as the leader said, and then you can give an upvote, and give a comment as well right down here. If you want to look at the console of advisor, you just go to the console of advisors as well, and you will see people running for the console of advisor right here. Damn, the loading takes so long. And then you can scroll over all the candidates, choose, read about them, and choose the one you like. My eyes as well goes for Brando and Blaze as well. And there's a lot of people actually running, a good people
There's a
running
good
for the,
amount now, right?
yeah, console of
Before it
advisor.
was
There's
nothing.
like
Oh yeah.
I have been looking at it, and I saw like a huge increase in candidates in the console of advisor, and pretty good names in there as well. And
Well, I
then the
think
last
one
one,
thing it could have been is that it just kind of came quickly. Like I said, like they've been planning this out for the past year, but it wasn't only until recently when people actually, it hit them. when
yeah,
we were even proposing in the OGs saying that maybe it should be pushed back, but I mean, we've had all year to say something.
yeah. I mean, I think in the last week or 10 days, people are coming through.
Yeah.
Transparency Commission have another 7 seat as well. I am really interested in this. I think this is like a very important, seat to have, and it's very important to have some vocal people in here that they are not scared to voice their opinion. They are like, just, we don't like what you are doing, we will have to talk about it. So a bit of strong personality for the candidate running on the Transparency Commission. You really need these vocals people that they are willing to go there and just give their honest opinion about anything. So yeah, do you have any question, Billy, for Brando?
Well, yeah, I wanted to talk about the boss real quick. Like, how is the boss going to play into like the NDC and the governance, all this stuff? How will they utilize that? Whatever you can tell us, because I'm no dev, I'm not a very technical person, but when it comes to the boss, it could be a little intimidating. So, can you share your thoughts and whatever you do know about the boss?
Yeah. Well, it's definitely been one of the things that Ilya and the Near Foundation team have been, you know, promoting within the past, while. Uh, it's it's actually being used right now with Near Social. It's actually a pretty cool platform. I think it's going to take some more time before it's adopted by a lot more people, but it's also what is powering the nominations and the NDC voting page. Um, Everything on there is powered by the boss, the front end, and it shows that it can be a very, very intuitive system for front end design. And one of the things, so we had a talk the other day with James about the BOS. And one of the main things that I think was very attractive about the BOS was that it is a way, among other things, there's a lot more different functions, and this isn't the only way it can be used, but a way to host your front ends on chain. So that sounds cool. I know they say it a lot, but what this means practically from certain what this means is that if you have a project, normally you host it via, there's multiple ways like Amazon Web Services, AWS, different things, but you can have a truly decentralized front end being hosted from multiple different nodes, I believe. So in terms of regulation, certain dexes, exchanges, certain websites can't be hosted in certain jurisdictions. It's illegal depending on what they do. But when you have something that's truly decentralized, like a lot of decentralized exchanges, crypto, etc., with a front end that is truly decentralized, that gives you a lot more freedom and allows people to do things in a regulatorily sound manner. So that is something that is cool. Being able to host your website via the BOS in a decentralized way. That's one of the things that I think is cool. And one of the applications I could see myself using the BOS for. On top of that, they talk about it a lot, but it allows people and projects from different chains to build widgets, things, apps for different chains. You're able to use a near wallet in order to interact with different chains, different dApps. It's interoperable. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do with it. There's a lot of cool things that we're seeing people develop with right now. But again, I am not an expert, that's for sure, as you can see. But I am excited for what potential there is with. I just think that we need more builders to be incentivized to build on the BOS, give them more resources, and as it's built up, just like anything, any open source projects, there will be more things for people to, more templates for people to use in order to build their own applications on the BOS, and it'll become easier and easier. And I think then people will be able to understand what it means more. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they're gonna do with gaming, like, because I've seen there's like a wood chopping game, there's a chess game. There's not much. I mean, it's in its infancy, but it'd be cool if, like, we can use some web GL games or something like that through the boss or something like that, and we can play some games or something like that. And with its integration, we can get other chains involved and stuff later on and stuff like that. But Seuss, did you have anything else to share before we start wrapping up? I think we're almost done here.
Yeah, well, it's just a quick reminder for everyone who will be watching this later on. You will probably have a smaller window, but to vote, you have only 1 day and 7 hours left to mint your SBT token. So make sure to mint your SBT token so you can vote for the people you want. Even though you are not nominating yourself, your vote is gonna help to shape the ecosystem. Your vote does matter, and it is very important, you know and a very important responsibility for you as well. If you care about the near ecosystem, if you want to see more improvement, if you have some certain project that need more love as well, voting is gonna definitely help with that. So don't forget to mint your I am a human badge so you will be able to vote for people who deserve it, like Brando, Delir, and maybe Billy later on if he's nominating himself.
Maybe, but don't forget the QR code
Yep.
up there
All
in the
the
top
way up.
left.
Mhm.
You can upvote, not vote. You can upvote and show your support for Brandon now and anyone else who you'd like to show some support to.
Yeah.
We have what? Go for it.
I just wanted to say really quickly, check it out and just go through the different platforms that people have posted on their nomination pages, especially you, Dolph. Try and see what people are bringing to the table and maybe, decide if you want to vote for them or eventually participate in governance yourself. I think, again, a lot of the questions are very general, but I think this is a good way to get involved and make sure that things will go smoothly with V1 of the governance, the NDC governance. And yeah, take a look through my platform. Let me know if you agree with me, or anyone else for that matter. I think getting involved is probably the best way to prevent a lot of the things that you were talking about in the comments.
Yeah,
voter
100%.
voter education. Even when you vote for presidents and stuff like that, or in your country, when you vote, you can't. I mean, you could, but you need to do some research. You need to get some education on what's going on and why you need to vote and who you're voting for exactly. I mean, if you don't vote for the people that need to be voted for, and you're worried about who's going to be picked, and you don't agree with it, but don't vote or don't know what's going on, just all you got to do is get involved, ask questions, poke around. Like I said, go to the forums, join the Telegram groups, join, and you being here on this pod, yeah, exactly. Thanks for the pod. No, thank you for coming. You need to learn, you need to know. I want to learn. May get involved, last minute. I don't know, but we have to figure things out for ourselves, and it's probably one of the main reasons why I'm not nominating myself is because I don't know and I need to do some research, and I'm kind of lagging it. But I got an entire week, and anybody else who wants to vote, and educate themselves, like I'm talking about, you have a little over a day to get your I Am Human SPTs. And if you are an OG in the space and still haven't gotten your SPT, I think, do we still have time for that, Suze?
No.
Not you. No, you don't count. You
No,
don't
no.
qualify.
Well,
But
well, I don't know, man. I speak a lot about it. No, did speak a lot about it in Twitter. You know, it is what it is. Doesn't matter. I yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't want to speak about it, to be honest, because I'm gonna like start talking for
yes, you
straight up.
deserve one. Do you meet the
You know,
criteria? Maybe
uh,
not. So
yeah, I
that's
I
the reason
really
behind
don't
it.
think I don't think the criteria makes sense. I think it was completely wrong, and it went for people that did not support the ecosystem as much as other. If you want to ask my, a complete opinion about it, some people's bring way more to the ecosystem, like me, for example, than some other I saw get their OG. Like, dude, what did you do? Like, what you did, But yeah, I mean, for people who shilled the NDC, I guess from the start and supported the NDC, well, yeah, thanks for supporting us. Here's the OG. But for
Golf wants
people
to
who
hear it. Golf
supported the
wants to know
eco,
why.
What
yeah,
is that?
for people
You
supported the
gave so much value
ecosystem,
to the near
well,
ecosystem, and
did
he
not.
wants to hear it. He wants to know why you get an OG badge.
Yeah, well,
But no,
I needed to have like a 1 year wallet, and I
yeah,
was
yeah.
lacking like 1 month, I think, something like this. But I didn't think the criteria like made sense. There's many people got their OG that did not contributed to the ecosystem as much as they should, and
Well, I think it could have
uh,
been just as simple as claiming a bounty before a certain time period. So some people who just showed up and claimed a
mhm,
bounty, they got it. So
yeah. Well,
maybe not as deserving as you or some people who put in a lot of
well,
work,
I
but
don't want to bash anyone. I just
golf, golf wants you to bash people. Start bashing people. Start bashing
no,
the
no, no.
NDC. Start bashing Near Protocol.
I don't want.
Bash
I
them.
did like
Dolph, do it for Dolph.
I did talk about it in my Twitter. I did Nono as well talked about it, but yeah, I
That is
think
the
better
point of
criteria.
governance and
Yeah,
democracy and stuff like that, right?
yeah.
You
I just
treat
really
them
think
right. They're
we
okay.
had to have a better criteria. You can determine someone value to the ecosystem by how long he have been there. Or for
I mean, that's what
example,
an OG is, right? How long you've been
yeah,
there.
yeah, in some way, yeah. But as well, you can't just give it to people just because they shill NDC. I mean, they don't meet any of the
I mean, that
criteria,
makes
but
sense.
because they
That
shill the
makes sense because
NDC,
you're
they
just
got
gonna give it
it.
to people, and they're
I
not
mean, yeah, you
OGs.
are giving it to
Are they
Schiller. Do
OGs?
you want? No,
I
no,
think
they
maybe it
don't
should.
meet any of the criteria. And I had it said to me by one of the OG committee. Well, we could have done better. Some people got it just because they supported the NDC. I mean, come on, it's not the NDC, it's the near ecosystem after all, But yeah, it's a done deal, man. I accepted my fate. I will get my OG later on. It doesn't matter. I don't need an SPT for it to claim it. But
So real
anyway,
quick, pulling away from Sousa's OG status, I want to I want to talk to Brandon real quick because we're about at the hour now. But being a part of this, you think that gaming needs help because the way Human Guild has been giving grants out is it's I talked about this to Illuminifty on our podcast last week, and you know gaming needs a lot more than 5,000 near.
Mhm.
I think a lot of people, it's like, that's nowhere near. I understand it's not to fund them completely and they need to raise their own, but how do you think going with governance and having a gaming work group will improve gaming or entice builders to come to near? Because I think I've shielded to few people on like Twitter and stuff like that, and they're like, "Oh, I haven't heard of near. I haven't looked into them. I've heard of them, but I haven't looked into it." And I say, "Hey, yeah, come build on near," and then I didn't hear nothing from them. If you look at Solana, Avalanche, Polygon, they're pouring millions into gaming and community and stuff like that. So do you think governance and the gaming work group would help gaming on Near?
So as I understand it right now, I'm pretty sure that, again, talk about that period in the beginning of the funding where these projects were getting, upwards of $50,000 grants, multiple grants, and now those projects are no longer even building anymore. Some of them, I don't know which ones exactly, but again, there's barely any projects building right now on Near. And I think the main issue is that you can't just, from my perspective, you can't really just give all this money without following their progress, very closely, and then expecting the project to be created. It needs to be merit-based, milestone-based funding. It needs to be, okay, you guys built this, now you get this. Now you build this, you get this. And for gaming, it costs a lot of money to build a game, much more than most projects. I mean, that's kind of why, games take a lot. So I understand why it takes a lot of money. The Human Guild did have a lot of money, and right now they don't have the ability to give that amount of money anymore. Like you said, only 5,000 Near, which is quite a bit of money in difference from different perspectives, but not for gaming. What I think needs to happen is that the NDC, someone could pass a proposal allocating a bunch of the treasury to the Human Guild, let's say, so that they can upscale the amount of initiatives that they support. But I also think that money isn't the only issue. I think that there needs to be, as I said, a system of milestone-based funding, that this funding is allocated so that we can ensure consistent progress. And if we see, if there's signs of that this project isn't going to succeed, or if they're not utilizing the funding as they're supposed to in like the original scope of work, that you can stop the funding without a bunch of detriment to the treasury. I think there needs to be a little bit more of a structure, and I think just right now, the Human Guild has done a lot, but right now they just don't have the amount of funds to back certain gaming projects. And on top of that, as we talked about a little bit, funding isn't the only way to support a project, and there's a lot of guilds and DAOs that are providing support in various different ways. Perhaps the Human Guild is a way to help fund a project to an MVP state, and then they can provide contacts and resources through what's the current thing for Near right now? What's the Near starter program?
Horizon?
Yeah, Horizon. So
Horizon, yeah.
They need to do something like that and provide verticals for these projects to get outside funding from different VCs, different groups. As I said before, Near shouldn't have. They don't have to. Sorry, it's not entirely on Near to fund your project from start to finish. They don't have the capacity to fund every project like that. As you saw with the marketing DAO, they can't possibly fund every single proposal coming through. But they do need to provide support and some funding in order to get these projects up off the ground, especially for building on the ecosystem. So there needs to be a combined effect of milestone-based funding as well as support in two other ways, I think, of connecting those projects with people that can support them in other ways, being finding funding for them, finding maybe teams or individuals that can help them develop the project. For instance, talented developers or designers, etc. Not only do they need funding and access to relationships for outside investment, they also need to be able to build a comprehensive team that can handle all parts of building a gaming project. Because, okay, let's just think about this really quickly. Gaming on Web3, you have to build a game. That's part one. That's already hard in itself. Step two, you have to connect it to Web3, build a community, and connect it to blockchain technology, which is basically a project in its own right, creating a
Yeah.
Web3 project. And then on top of that, you need to scale out this business, this game company, into a whole bunch more ways than just developing and getting it onto Web3. You got to have marketing, legal, etc. So that you need a lot of money to build a game. And I think that if you are lacking in even one of those areas, you're not going to have a comprehensive project in it, and it will fall apart. And most startups fail. I mean, that's just the reality. So I think going forward, the Human Guild could get more funding from the NDC, provided they feel that that's the right move. But I think that that's something that I would like to bring to the table as part of the NDC. I would like to ensure that, okay, yeah, I would love to give them funding, but I want to ensure that we're not just giving funding and then all of a sudden they're going to fall flat. We need to provide support in all aspects of a business, a sustainable project, so that they have, their chances of being successful are increased. So yes, the NDC can provide more to the Human Guild, but I think it needs to be done in a tactful way that addresses all the issues so that we learn our lesson and we don't just give large amounts of money, because large amounts of money at a project does not solve everything. It needs to be, guided. And again, like I said, there's multiple areas that you need to support a project in order for it to grow. And I think that there's a lot of great people that are starting their own projects. However, that's what incubators, that's what Horizons does. They try and provide everything you need to build. And I think with moving forward, that's the kind of mindset that needs to be taken to all initiatives and proposals to make sure that they are consistent, long-term, sustainable, and doing everything we can to ensure that they're not just going to take all this money and then fail. And a lot of these projects do fail. It's not necessarily that we're only going to fund you if we know you're going to be successful. I mean, look at how that turns out. I mean, I'm not sure if a lot of people talk about it right now, but Few and Far was one of the biggest projects supported by the Near Foundation, and there's bad actors, and they basically are no longer developing that right now. I know there's talks and plans of something, but anyway, even projects that are supported and funded, immensely funded, have the possibility of failing. So when you're investing into projects, there's always the reality that they might not work, but you need to take steps in order and ensure that they have all of the support that they need while providing funding in a merit-based, milestone-based way, so that if that happens, you're not out so much money, or at least you can kind of correct that issue before it happens. I mean, it's definitely hard, but I think there needs to be systems in place. So yeah, that was my spiel.
All good and valid points, in my opinion. There's a lot of stuff going on, and it can be improved. So, this is why we're here. This is why we're still here, and there's still hope. So, go vote. Go educate yourself. Still got another day to get your SBT to be able to vote, and it's going to be in about another week or so. Seuss, you have anything else to share? You want to go over what the QR codes or the ticker is on the bottom before we wrap it up?
Yeah. So, well, the tickers we had throughout the show, where the deadline is. This is the deadline. Again, a reminder that voting will begin at near Epic in Vietnam, with September 8th, and then votings end on September 22. Election period is from September 8th to September 22, basically. And the start of first, I think, right? And the 1st of October is going to be the start of the Congress, right? Correct me if I'm wrong here, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, your I am a human SBT need to be minted one day ahead. We did a lot of reminder about this, guys. So again, if you wanna vote, make sure you mint your SBT. You have around one day, I think, so far. Yes. That's it. Actually,
Yep.
guys. Brando, thank you. I don't know, we are wrapping it up, but I had, it's a pleasure to talk with you, Brando, to be honest. And best of luck, really. Full support from my side, and I believe with many other people as well. We do really need you there, and as well, people like you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys so much for hosting this. It was a great conversation. Glad to have Dolph there to ask the real questions. And in about 2 hours at noon Pacific time, we're going to have a near at night spaces, NDC spaces as well, half and half, with Lumen FT just kind of going over the NDC. We've already went over the houses, and we're just going to have an open discussion with one of the core contributors to the current structure of the NDC, and just talk about what the community wants to see for governance, and have different people, candidates. Anyone is welcome to talk. So if you want to appear on that later, you guys as well. We'll be talking with some of the people who helped design the structure. So that'll be good spaces as well.
Awesome. Yes. Thanks for coming on, and good luck. You have my support as well. I went and commented, and I look forward and hope you get it. I think you will, and
Hopefully.
you have all my support.
All right.
So,
Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you later. See you in a bit.
thank you, everyone. Goodbye. Thank you, Dolph.
You too.